Time check is 6 a.m. Good morning. You're watching the morning news. This is the first bulletin of the day on TV3 right here on New Day. This bulletin is coming to you live from the news app here at Adesawe Kanda. On Facebook, we are live on TV3 Ghana and on DSTV's channel 279. Top of the stories is are. Energy Minister to investigate shocking disappearance of over 1,300 containers belonging to ECG from the Tema port. Also coming up this morning, Parliament begins approving budget estimates of various ministries and departments ahead of the passage of the appropriation bill. Communications Minister Sam George accuses previous NPP government of using third-party contractors to divert revenue from the state. My name is Josh Quinn. You have details of these stories and many more coming up in the next 20 minutes if you stay with me. Also, you can get interactive with us. We're live on Facebook, TV3 Ghana. Let's begin from the energy sector because the sector minister, John Abdullah Jinapor, has received a startling report on ECG's procurement investigations, which indicates that 1,328 containers out of the about 2,500 locked up containers at the Tema port could not be accounted for. The sector minister said that the alarming findings raised urgent questions about accountability and transparency within the ECG. There's more in this report by Ekuya Ofori-Wadako.
1.5 billion Ghana cedis in demurrage charges have been accrued on approximately 2,500 containers belonging to Electricity Company of Ghana (ECG) that are stuck at the Tema port. In response to the huge losses incurred by the state and energy sector, a technical committee was formed to investigate the locked up containers and ECG's procurement practices. The committee's thorough probe reviewed more than 1,300 containers out of the locked up of about 2,500 containers could not be traced.
2,491 is the list we were given. We got 1,134, leaving out about 1,328 containers that could not be accounted for.
Presenting the investigative report to the Energy Minister, the chairman of the technical committee, Professor Innocent Kwesiakwa, highlighted key findings, including excessive procurement made by ECG, which were overstated by a staggering 700%, and procured services for clearing the containers without competitive bidding.
At the same time that they were saying they were not having money, several contracts related to the same goods have been awarded. And those contracts are such that when the supplier delivers at the port and hands over the documents, 90% of the cost is supposed to be paid. 2022, our procurement was about 70%. 2023 was about 740-something%. So whatever they plan to procure in their procurement plan, you realize that that was overdone by 740-something%.
The Energy Minister, John Jinapor, expressed worry about the irregularities and inefficiencies within the state.
It itself presents as containers held at the port 1,328 cannot be accounted for. That is very serious and that's very alarming. 1,328 containers cannot just vanish into thin air.
He was optimistic about tackling the issue with appropriate interventions by the security service and other stakeholders to bring perpetrators to book.
And I assure you that we would hold people liable for this. And whatever it takes, we'll work with the Attorney General, we'll work with the police, and ensure that whichever group, whatever people are responsible for this, are brought to book. And that we retrieve either the containers or the monetary equivalent of these containers.
About 2 months ago, the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Mr. John Abdullah Jinapor, tasked a 5-member investigative committee to oversee all procurement practices at the Electricity Company of Ghana (ECG). The move was aimed at addressing the inefficiencies that have led to significant financial losses to the company and the energy sector in general. Ekuya Ofori-Wadako, TV3 News, Accra.
And now the finance minister says the 2025 budget is people-centered and one that would ensure economic growth. Dr. Kisila took forth an appeal to Parliament to support the budget and ensure the passage of some 21 bills before it. He made the remarks after the end of the budget debate in Parliament. Take a listen.
The country we are proud of, go to court. To the NDC, go to court. Use the judiciary, use the rule of law. Mr. Speaker, let me come to their so-called 24-hour economy. When the president came to this house, he promised us in his SONA that the 24-hour economy will find expression in his budget statement. He told us, when Dr. Atufosin came here, he now tells us the 24-hour economy will come later. The policy will come later. So you lied to Ghanaians. How come in 2025, your maiden budget, the 24-hour economy policy is not featuring in that budget? So 2025, we should forget about 24-hour economy. What you are doing in 2025, persecution, persecution, persecution.
Mr. Speaker, he promised to give the full allocation for roads to the roads fund and take away the capping there as well, so that our roads will get better. And that is happening in this budget. Talk and do, President. Education was struggling for funding. This budget will remove the capping and get fund will get its full allocation, and our schools will work again. Talk and do, President. I've heard arguments suggesting that only 13 billion Ghana cedis is allocated for big push. When we uncap road funds and the money goes to the road funds, what will road funds use the money for? To pay for roads. Is that not infrastructure? Is that not what the big push is about?
This budget is one that is people-centered, with innovative solutions to address our deep-seated socio-economic issues. This year, Mr. Speaker, we have set ourselves key targets, and we believe this target will be achieved. The targets are grow the economy to at least 4%, to reduce inflation to a minimum of 11.9%, to stabilize the exchange rate, to accumulate international reserves, to cover not less than 3 months of import cover. And it's important that I state that regardless of the difficulties the central bank is going through, they are policy solvent. Accompanied by this budget, we have we have 21 different bills for consideration. And I urge this House to urgently support the passage of these bills to see this budget through.
Well, let's still stay in Parliament because the House has begun approving the budget estimate of the various ministries and departments ahead of the passage of the appropriation bill. Evelyn Tingma was in Parliament and reports.
The House first approved the budget estimates for the Energy and Transition Ministry amounting to 1,280,905,333 Ghana cedis. The Energy Committee noted a decline in oil production and urged the ministry to work at addressing it. The Sector Minister, John Jinapor, said the ministry's budget has been reduced by 400 million cedis due to the current economic challenges and hopes to get additional funding subsequently. The House has also approved a sum of 3,244,979,700 Ghana cedis for the Roads and Highways Ministry as budget estimates for the year ending December 31, 2025. Concerns were raised regarding the reintroduction of the road toll, with some MPs asking for higher fees to be collected. The Sector Minister Kwame Governs Agboja promised to address the concerns. The House also approved the budget estimates of over 985 million Ghana cedis for the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology.
And more news this morning. The one-week ultimatum given by the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, concerning the daughter of a murderer comment has elapsed. It's been 3 weeks yet. The Member of Parliament has not owned up as directed by the Speaker, and Parliament is silent. Evelyn Tingma has more in the following report.
February 4, amid heated discussions commemorating the 60th anniversary of Joseph Boache Dankwa, an MP from the minority side made a controversial comment. The daughter of a Medra comment sparked widespread outrage, with many calling for accountability and stricter enforcement of parliamentary conduct. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, on Tuesday, March 4, described the comment as reckless and deeply disturbing and emphasized that such remarks undermine the dignity and decorum of the House. He then gave a one-week ultimatum to the MP who made that comment to voluntarily come forward or face severe consequences. He further announced the launch of a formal investigation to identify the MP behind the statement and warned that failure to comply with the ultimatum will result in a decisive action. It's been 3 weeks now since the directive was given, yet Parliament is silent on the matter. The majority leader, who also warned that if the MP refuses to come forward, the highest sanction would be taken, has also not said a word. My attempt to seek updates on the matter from the majority whip, Nelson Dafiamako, proved futile. Meanwhile, Parliament is expected to adjourn sitting of the first meeting on Friday. So the question remains, if the matter is not dealt with before the House rises, what becomes of the Speaker's powers? And can the public continue to trust the Parliament institution, especially when it comes to dealing with its own? Evelyn Tingma, TV3 News, Parliament House.
In more news this morning, Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations has accused the previous Akufo-Addo administration of engaging in a third-party contract that allegedly diverts revenue from the National Information Technology Agency, NITA. Addressing journalists, Samuel Nete George described the situation as a state capture. Take a listen to the minister.
NITA, the National IT Agency, for example, has 25 Ghana cedis, 8 pesos. I repeat that, 25 Ghana cedis, 8 pesos as this bank balance at the Bank of Ghana. Meanwhile, the agency owes 813,486,505 Ghana cedis, 89 pesos. But what they have in their account is 25 Ghana cedis. This is the ministry that we inherited. This is what we took over. NITA, for example, has a certain contract arrangement with a third-party vendor. I have summoned the third-party vendor to appear before me tomorrow because I do not understand how all the revenue coming to NITA, the previous administration signed the contract that has taken all of that fund, all the revenue that comes, and gives it to a third party. And so NITA is not getting any money. And so you ask yourself, almost everything at the ministry goes to a third party. So NITA has 25 cedis sitting in his account. Meanwhile, just for the month of January, the payments from services that are run using NITA's infrastructure that I was supposed to approve to a third-party company was almost 4 million Ghana cedis. I have refused to sign it. And I've insisted that I've referred it to the Attorney General. I will not sign any such payments until I understand why NITA is not getting a dime and a private sector player is using NITA's infrastructure, earning in excess of almost 4 million Ghana cedis, and NITA is, all the debts are sitting on NITA's books and all the revenue is going to a private sector. I mean, the ministry is the true definition of state capture. And I will take my time to come before the House and brief the House extensively on the rot in the ministry.
Well, let's know what you make of this very development and other stories that have aired so far. We're live on Facebook, TV3 Ghana. Engage us with your comments and your opinions, and we'll surely read them and share them to the rest of the world. If you just tuned in, you're still watching the morning news here on TV3. And now the beneficiary households of the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty LEAP program would soon receive the joint cycles of cash grant. At a media briefing, Gender Minister Dr. Agnes Namomolate disclosed that the government has released over 265 million cedis for disbursement, scheduled to commence on March 24, 2025. Ekyo Fori Darko has more in this report.
The LEAP grant is paid bi-monthly and the amount paid to the households vary. Each household on the program is paid according to the program's eligibility criteria, which is if households are extremely poor. The two joint cycles of payment will be disbursed to 350,000 LEAP beneficiary households in 260 metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies MMDAs.
One eligible member household is entitled to 512 Ghana cedis. The two eligible member households are entitled to 608 Ghana cedis, while three eligible member households will be paid 704 Ghana cedis. Finally, households with 4 or more eligible members will receive 848 Ghana cedis.
According to the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Namomolate, the number of beneficiary households have been increased from 350,000 to 400,000.
The President, through the Minister for Finance, further increased the allocation for LEAP benefit from 728.8 million to 953.5 million in his first budget statement and economic policy for the 2025 financial year.
She urged LEAP beneficiary households to make the most of this support to enhance their overall well-being.
Beneficiaries are expected to prioritize essential areas such as household nutrition, children's education, and income-generating activities. The ministry has therefore initiated a comprehensive reassessment of all beneficiary households to evaluate their continued eligibility.
Beneficiaries include households with orphans and vulnerable children, the aged elderly 65 years and above without support, persons with severe disability who cannot easily work, and extremely poor pregnant women and lactating mothers with infants under 1 year. Ekuya Oferiwa, Dako, TV3 News, Accra.
And our President John Dramani Mahama has expressed confidence in the ability of the District Assembly's Common Fund administrators to enhance efficiency and transparency in the administration of the Common Fund to the benefit of local governance in the country. Speaking at the swearing-in ceremony of Michael Harry Yamson, the President says there will be no delay in the disbursement of the fund to assemblies.
Beyond the need for competent administration of the fund, my government fully recognizes that timely, efficient, and adequate disbursement of resources is equally critical to the success of local governance. A well-managed District Assembly's Common Fund can only achieve its intended impact if the central government remains committed to ensuring that funds are released on schedule and in full. It is with this understanding that in the 2025 budget, we have made a firm commitment to be remitting at least 80% of DACF allocations directly to the districts. By strengthening the financial autonomy of district assemblies, we are not only reinforcing the constitutional principle of decentralization and equitable development, but we're also ensuring that communities across Ghana receive the resources they need to drive economic growth, infrastructure expansion, and essential public services. I believe that this approach will restore public confidence in the DACF and maximize its impact as a driver of equitable development, job creation, and improved service delivery.
That suffer deprivation of many kinds, in health, in access to water, in education, and simple things like tarred roads. My task, and that of my team, is to ensure that over the next 4 years, we do justice to these areas and these people. Mr. President, I can confirm to you that we are almost done with the formula for 2025, and we have just crossed the 80% mark. I'm not quite touching 81 yet, but we've crossed the 80%, and the districts will have the money as it is received. So.
Well, this is where we pull the brakes and bring the news to an end. And for more news updates, just log on to our website. tv3news.com. My name is Josh Quinning. Either you run the day or the day runs you. Thanks for watching. Have a good morning.
Morning, I wake up to this miracle sleeping soundly, but mornings weren't always this peaceful. I remember the sleepless nights, leaks that woke us both up, damp clothes and tears, and all I wanted was for my baby to be dry and comfortable. Then I discovered Flora Kids baby diaper. Its maximum absorption keeps my little one dry all night, giving us peaceful, restful sleep. And the stretchy side tapes, they make sure it's comfy even when she's on the move.